Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Margie.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, while we're waiting, I'm warming up my dinner.
Well,
Excellent.
I was going to say, you're not going to see me because I am flitting around the kitchen because I have a Zoom at 7 and I have to have my husband fed before then. So I will not be staying as long.
Gotcha. Well, tell Bill we all said hello.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So, welcome everyone. Thank you all for coming to session 4, an overview of social media on the Ward 3 Neighborhood Series. For this session, we're going to be joined by two great and wonderful city employees. We have Sierra from the Parks and Recreation Department, and we have James from Tucson Water. Just a quick Zoom housekeeping update. Unless you are speaking or plan to speak, go ahead and keep yourself muted. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll be able to monitor it this session since I'll be a little bit in the background. So let's kick it off with some introductions. And I'll, since there's a good amount of people, I will just go ahead and call on you to go ahead and say your name, what neighborhood you're from, and what social media accounts do you personally have. So I will go start. I'll start on my screen and I'll go right to left. So Elizabeth, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Ironwood Ridge neighborhood, which is a West Side Ward 1 neighborhood. Thank you for having me. I appreciate this. Personally, Facebook, Twitter, that's about it.
Excellent. All right, Ellen. You're kind of cutting in and out a little bit there, Ellen.
I'm sorry. Ellen Page, Panorama Estates, Silver Bell and Congress Street. And we really don't have any social media in our neighborhood. So I'm looking forward to about that.
Excellent. Well, welcome. All right, we have Dorothy.
Dorothy Yanez, Brickton neighborhood, which is between Speedway and Grant, Silver Bell and Greasewood. And I guess I've got all the personally, I've got all the social medias.
Excellent. Well, welcome. All right, Steve.
Steve Safkin, Broadmoor, Broadway Village. I have only email. I need to expand a little.
Well, welcome. Well, hopefully we'll have some great tips for you. All right, next we have from Ward 3, Ernesto.
Hi, sorry I'm late. Ernesto Portillo, Ward 3 council aide. West Side resident.
Gotcha. All right, next we have Mike. All right, looks like we're having a little trouble hearing you, Mike. It looks like you're.
All right, let's try that. How's that?
There we go.
Mike's
Perfect.
mic not working.
Okay, new headset. I'm learning the switches on the boom mic. Mike with Tucson House and Barrio Blue Moon Neighborhood Association. Personally, I have a lot of social media accounts, with the exception of TikTok and Snapchat, because I'm not interested in those two. As far as the neighborhood association goes, someone is in control of our Facebook account, and that's about it.
Gotcha. Sounds good. And the next we have Nicole Snook.
Hi, I don't know what the question was, but I can guess it's about what communication devices we use.
Yep. So your name, your neighborhood, and then what social media do you personally have?
Personally. Okay, so I am Nicole Snook with the Flowing Wells Estates Neighborhood Watch in the Flowing Wells Neighborhood Association. And I have email, Facebook, and YouTube.
Excellent. And then next we have Alice.
Okay, I'm Alice Rowe from the Blenman Elm neighborhood. And I personally do not do Facebook. I am terrified of the information that comes through Facebook. Anyway, that's my personal thing. As a neighborhood, we have just signed up for a listserv with groups.io and to replace our Yahoo group. And that's about the social media we do. I personally have a Twitter account that I never post to. I use it only to search for other postings.
Gotcha. Well, welcome. And then next up is Molly.
I am Molly Collins, and I am in the Arroyo Chico neighborhood. We do not have a neighborhood association. We're located just south of the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association. I think a lot of my neighbors use the Nextdoor app, although that's pretty broad. And personally, I use Facebook.
Excellent. All right. And now we have Kelly McClear.
I am on voice only, and I'm sort of semi-representing the Miracle Manor area. I spoke to Christina White, who's the president this week, and she is not really having the right device and so forth set up to do these meetings. So I try to share what we learn with her so she can pass it along. But I don't think that neighborhood has too many tech tools at their disposal right now.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for joining us. And
No
then,
problem.
last but not least is Margie.
Hi. So we have our neighborhood Facebook page, and that takes up so much of my time. I don't have my personal one. And then I'm on Nextdoor. I got pulled into that, kicking and screaming, but I did it. And then obviously the emails and texting and things like that.
All right.
But I am I'm working on constructing a blog. So that's where I'm at.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for session 4. I had showed the agenda right when we started, and I also sent it around in the chat so everybody would have it. So we are just going to go ahead and jump right in. First off, I'm going to introduce Sierra Boyer, who is the intrepid public information officer for Parks and Rec, in addition to wearing a lot of other hats. But she's going to be presenting on some of the social media practices that department uses. So Sierra, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
All right. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So like you said, my name is Sierra Boyer. I do the marketing and communications for Parks and Recreation. And so I've been doing this for a long time. So I'm very familiar with most of the social media platforms, especially the ones that we use at Parks and Recreation. Really, it's kind of been our main tool with budget cuts to reach a large amount of people quickly and free. We can also boost posts to like a certain mile radius or to all of Tucson, or we can even cater it down to moms or moms and dads, parents, seniors, and target our advertising towards those on social media who are in those demographics. So a lot of our marketing has kind of gone electronic, and we've kind of gone away from any snail mail type things. We do still do email as well. If it's free, we do it. So social media has been a good way for us to communicate with the public and also to have like an exchange. So I try to answer any questions that come our way on any of our posts that I can, as long as they're not just statements or maybe like a mean comment that somebody's made. Usually I try to respond to everybody. So a great thing about social media is it increases participation in our government and in your neighborhood association. So if you're trying to get more activity and more residents involved in like a neighborhood cleanup, or you have a special event in your neighborhood, social media is a great way to get people involved and kind of meet new people, even though it's virtually and it's not face to face. It's a good way to get that communication flowing. So as far as Parks and Recreation, we use Facebook, Instagram as a city, Twitter, YouTube, and this funny looking white one, that's Flickr. It's where we host all of our pictures. And then Nextdoor we use as well. So all of these are available for, sorry guys. All of these are available for your neighborhood association to use as well. First, I'm going to talk about Facebook. So Facebook's one of those ones that's been around for a while. It's still one of the most used social media platforms. I heard a lot of you on this call. Yes. Okay, good job. I heard, sorry guys. So most of these sorry. I heard a lot of you guys say that you use Facebook, and so that's really good. I can show you a few of the things that we use on Facebook as a page that you can probably use as a neighborhood association to help reach more people. So let me see if I can change screens here to our Facebook. So this is our city website. And if you have a website as a neighborhood association, I'd strongly recommend you linking all of your social media. The cities are all at the top, and our Parks and Rec page, all of our social media is linked at the bottom. And this is our Facebook page. So here we're promoting everything on our news feed. So on the front, you can see our posts, and then let me scroll to one that has a few comments. Well, so we post about the city curfew, and you can see that there's a lot of comment action happening below here. So I would be able to see these and reply to these. You'd also be able to have neighbors, probably wasn't the best one to show you guys, but the neighbors commenting as well. So you can kind of get a feel for how the neighborhood is feeling about a certain event you're hosting, or if there's been a lot of trash at a park in your neighborhood, you can see neighbors commenting on that, or how you can help them kind of fix that situation. On the left-hand side, you'll see here where you have your inbox. You can host an event. So if you click events, you can start, my Wi-Fi is going to go a little slow, but you can grab a picture and throw it in the cover, date, time, location. If you have a neighborhood cleanup, that's a great tool to use there. You probably won't need much else over here, but notifications will show you all the people that are commenting. You can see people who have talked about you. So if there's a Tucson area pickleball you see here, mentioned us, so you can see that we can go interact with them on another page. So Facebook's a really good tool to communicate back and forth with people, get a conversation going, and it's not just like a one-way talking at somebody. You can see from this graph that the users are 75% female, 63% male, and I'd say the ages between 18 and 49 is the majority, but that doesn't, I mean, you're still at 50% of ages 13 to 17 in the other categories as well. So pretty much the majority of people are on Facebook. And if they're not on Facebook, you can probably find them on one of these other platforms. Twitter's one that I don't think has the same kind of communication back and forth between people as easily. It's more of like business to business, or it's where a lot of media will pick up on our stories. So we'll post like big things happening or news, any press we have, late breaking stuff that needs to happen instantaneously. That's kind of thing will go on Twitter. Let's see. You can see here the primary use 21% female, 24% male, and about 18 to 29 is a higher percentage in the age range, but you see that all these percentages are much lower than Facebook. Let's go back to here. Sorry, guys. No, that's not working. Okay, so here you see our Twitter. So right here on the center on the homepage, that will be pretty much any feed of anybody you follow, and it's updated constantly. So it's ever changing and it changes really quickly. It's really hard to scroll through and constantly be on top of it, but Twitter does a really good job of trying to keep the content that you interact with the most in front of you. Our profile, you can see it only allows a certain number of characters, so you keep it short and sweet. And then people can retweet you with this arrow button, so they can just retweet you really quickly, or they can make a comment that goes with it. They can just like your post, or they can actually add a comment to it. So I don't know that many of your neighborhood associations will be using this, but it is a good way to follow things that happen in Tucson. I think there's a bunch of bloggers that they'll tweet things and keep you up to speed on what's happening in Tucson. Else. Okay, Instagram. So Instagram has been becoming very popular, not just this past year, but for a long time. It's been becoming more and more popular, mostly because it's so graphic. You obviously have to have a picture or video to be posting on Instagram, and that's what grabs people's attention. It's definitely gaining a lot of speed with the younger population. They have stories just like Snapchat, so some may have even gotten rid of Snapchat and just opted for an Instagram. You can see that it's very popular in the 13 to 17-year-old age range. I've spoken to some teenagers who think Facebook is old news, and they will only use Instagram and TikTok or Snapchat, those sorts of things. So it's definitely this younger crowd, but you're seeing more and more people migrate there. And if you want to see, so if you're a fan of our page, our city's Instagram account, what it looks like a little differently on a phone, but you'll see all our content on our page kind of in these square graphics, and then you can click on them to see, you know, who's commented, the actual post. The difference, the thing with Instagram that isn't as savvy for, say, a post for the government is you can't link things in the post. So links don't work right here in Instagram. You actually have to go to their profile, and then you're only allowed one link. So if that goes back to your neighborhood association, that's fine. They can go there for more information on your website, but it's mainly used just for graphics and to get people involved in the cool things, neighborhood things that are happening around you. So a few of the other social media that Parks and Rec uses, just maybe not as often as those other ones. We use YouTube, Flickr, and Nextdoor, which I heard a couple of you talking about Nextdoor. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. See if I can click on our cities one. So if you aren't on Nextdoor, it's basically a neighborhood app. And the city, we have a Nextdoor account, but we can't see your neighborhood. So if you're having a conversation with other neighbors and it involves the city and you think that we should know about what you're talking about, you'll have to tell us. You'll have to email us or call us or let us know, because we can't see any of the neighborhood's information unless, like, I personally live in that neighborhood and saw that conversation happening. It's pretty much us being able to post, and we can see and reply to the comments on the posts we do, but anything private in your neighborhood, we wouldn't be able to see those things. We wouldn't know about, say, an issue at a park or a pothole on a street unless you had commented on one of our posts or let us know somewhere outside of here. But we as a city can take something like, if there's a road construction, so like this Houghton's 22nd Street, Irvington Road, that doesn't necessarily affect the entire city of Tucson. So we can actually just post it to certain neighborhoods and certain radius around that project, versus something that would be a citywide issue. We can post it to the entire city of Tucson or the entire like outskirts of the city of Tucson, so including the Pima County Tucson residents. So the Nextdoor has been really good for us to be able to reach neighborhoods and those who are concerned with things happening just in their neighborhood. YouTube, we use primarily, really stepped up our game during COVID. We use it for posting videos about virtual classes, outdoor recreation, those sorts of things. You can really get lost down a rabbit hole with videos on YouTube, but as far as Parks and Recreation, this is what we use it for. And then this is really cool. So Flickr is kind of our account that hosts all of our photos. So this goes back for a few years when we started to use it. But one of our collections, if you view collections, we started doing the Tucson Delivers Parks and Connections bond projects recently. And my Wi-Fi is going to go very slow here. But what we did was we started collecting these photos before and after into a collection. So this is just one way we're using it, and one way we're trying to be transparent with the community about our projects. So you can see the different parks that have projects started and maybe finished in here. And you can see different before and after pictures of what's going on at that park and what it looked like before, what it looks like now, a description of how much funding was designated to that park. And then the different projects that are planned for the future. So that's going to take a while to load. But if you guys are interested, all those links are on our Parks and Recreation page, as well as all of our other social media. Yeah, does anybody have any questions for me?
All right, you can either
Yes, this is Dorothy. I have a question.
Please.
How did you find your demographics that you know how many females and males and the age range? How did you figure that out?
So those stats actually came from a Sprout. It's called Sprout Social, and they're basically a social media management company. And you can, it's kind of like Hootsuite if you've ever heard of them. And they basically are a company that makes it really easy for you to post across all platforms. So they're kind of the master of all social media. But if you look, if you can still see my screen, when you're on your page, there are demographics. Let's see if I, on Insights on your Facebook page. Someday. And all of the platforms have this. So Instagram has it, Twitter has it. They all have their own, but they have analytics on the back end of it. So you can see, you know, videos, page followers, all your most popular posts, that sort of thing. Then you can, let's see. Let's go into page likes. Okay, so page likes, you can kind of see which days you had. The majority of those, you can see, gosh, they used to go into them on here. On the back end, on the business side, you can, and maybe James can go into this a little more, you can see our audience. So I can see how many women versus men like our page, what is their age range. that sort of thing. And each of the platforms have these analytics on them.
Excellent. That is excellent. So we'll leave it there for Sierra, and then we will come back for a joint question and answer period with Sierra and James after James presents. So thank you so much, Sierra. We really do appreciate it. And now we will hand it over to James.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, I'm glad that Sierra was so prepared and had such a good overview presentation. I think maybe what I'll do is I'll just share kind of some highlights of each of those platforms and some thoughts that I've been sort of collecting in terms of trying to think about where you guys are coming from, trying to communicate with your community members, your constituents. Tucson Water has almost all those same accounts, similar to what Parks and Recreation have. And so one of the things that I'll say is, I think one of the, kind of the core platform that we use for to reach the most people, Facebook is the way to go. I heard a statistic on the radio today that 2 billion people use Facebook in the world. And so chances are, most of the people in your neighborhood are on Facebook. And the nice thing about that is it includes a lot of older people. Whereas a Twitter or an Instagram, that older folks will not tend to be on those as much. So I'll share Tucson Water's Facebook page real quick. There's not a whole lot. Okay, there we go. There's not a whole lot different to see than. What seems to be the problem here? Oh. All right. Are you seeing our Facebook page?
Yes.
Okay. There's usually a red box around it, but for some reason not today. So let's see. No. Watch again. So this is Tucson Water's Facebook page, and I actually this is a cool one here. Oops. I'll just share kind of a neat feature that I think is kind of cool, which is that most of these platforms now, you can just share live video. And so we were, with Game and Fish Department, we were releasing native Gila top minnow in the Santa Cruz River Heritage Project. The mayor was there. Of course, everyone's social distancing, so there was just this small group of people down there, and that was it. We didn't have like a big public event. And so I actually didn't plan that ahead of time, but if I had, it's a good way to share an event and get people interested in what's going on. You could also, if you're having a neighborhood meeting, you can also broadcast that live. And it doesn't take any special equipment or anything. I just use your phone. And in general, the longer that you're broadcasting live, the more people will join. So we've used this in the past where we've had a live Q&A with our director. It's just another way to, kind of a different way of what we're doing right now. One of the things about that I really think is powerful for a neighborhood with Facebook is the ability to link up with other organizations, other groups, the city, other government agencies, and expand your reach. So, if you're having an event and, TPD is going to be there, you can mention them and you can create an event. They could be a co-host with you. They can, you can, like nonprofit organizations, it's a good way to really spread your reach if you're trying to get more people to participate, if you're trying to reach different kinds of people who are interested in different things. One thing to know if you do set up a Facebook group for your neighborhood is that somebody has to own that, moderate it. And unlike Nextdoor, so Nextdoor, which Sierra shared, it has the virtue of being sort of, it's open access. Anybody who wants to do that can join, and there's no moderator other than the Nextdoor people themselves. Whereas in Facebook, if you start a group for your neighborhood, there's going to be people in charge of having to make decisions like, okay, are we going to remove this comment where somebody's going on a tirade about something, or do we leave everything? In the city, we have rules about what we can, and basically we don't delete anything unless it's profane. But so that's something to think about, and I've seen it on groups where they can start to go south in terms of the quality of commentary on there, and then it becomes up to a moderator to deal with that, and then people push back. So that's just a consideration to take into account. Is there a question?
I don't know
So yeah, Facebook we use for the greatest reach. Twitter. Okay, are you seeing our Twitter page now? I can't see what I'm sharing. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Twitter we use a lot because we have a lot of in the moment things like water service outages, and transportation department uses them for when streets are closed, like emergent stuff. We use Twitter because that, as Sierra said, that's where the media is. So yeah, if as a citizen, I live in Menlo Park. If I want to know what's going on in the city, the first place I'll go is to Twitter, and you'll see immediately the most stuff that's going on. And you can also use as a neighborhood, as a citizen, accounts. There's an account, I think the most popular Twitter account in Tucson is called What's Up Tucson. They have over 100,000 followers, and I see it every day. Someone's like, hey, what's up Tucson? I'm trying to think of what kinds of stuff people share. It's not usually like lost dogs and stuff, but if you share something to What's Up Tucson and then they share it, you have just reached like a substantial portion of the community with your announcement. So
James,
that's, yeah.
Can I insert something into there?
Please.
On that WhatsApp, how far it reaches? So my son, who lives up in Chandler, called me one night and asked me, Mom, is everything okay? And I'm saying, why? He said, I just saw on WhatsApp, the helicopters are flying around there and there's cops and all that. Are you guys okay? So, he heard about us down here, up there, because he was connected on WhatsApp. So it reaches far, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's usually instantaneous. And, the police department they'll find people through Twitter, basically. Hey, this person just robbed a convenience store. They'll post a picture and, they just send it out, and on social media, they'll use it to find folks. Yeah, and the downside of Twitter, of course, or one of the downsides of Twitter, of course, is not, the majority of people are not using it. But as far as like that broad reach and working with the media, that's very helpful. For us, this has kind of replaced the press release. Like if we want the media to get something, we put it on Twitter. We still do press releases because some of the older legacy channels still want us to do that, but we get way more media response on Twitter than we do from a press release or writing something to the newspaper or something like that. Nextdoor for us, again, just to echo Sierra, we really rarely use that for like citywide announcements, but we use it for like something like this where we had an issue. Well, this is a continuing issue at the Santa Cruz River Heritage Project. People are bringing their turtles down, or whatever they want to, creatures they want to put in the river, and so we put out a targeted announcement to the it's the 14 neighborhoods in that area. Hey, keep an eye out. Please don't do this. We've put up signage. And that's another important thing to remember is that, I think there was a time, maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5, 10 years ago, where people were like, just everything's going to be social media. I'll tell you that it's not like we do social media now instead of other things. Tucson Water still has a paper newsletter, a digital email newsletter, all these social media channels, in-person events. And so it's just becomes more. It's not like instead of. And just one little anecdote that I'll share, and then maybe I'll kind of leave it at this, is that, so we have okay social media followings, a couple thousand Twitter followers, a couple thousand Facebook, and a couple thousand on Instagram. And so when we post stuff, we know at least a few thousand people are going to see it. This summer, for the first time, we started doing the Water Matters newsletter that you get in your utility bill. We took every single email that we had in our accounts. We had like 160,000 customer emails, and we subscribed everybody one time to our Water Matters newsletter. And now we send that out digitally every month as well. And you can always opt out of it, like any email like that. But I will tell you, we have had so much more engagement with people, people enrolling in programs, enrolling in rebates, responding to us, filling out polls. Like we just had a poll in the last month's one, and like more than 1,000 people completed it, which is like, if we did that on Facebook, we'd probably get like a few dozen people filling out a poll. And so email should not be underestimated in terms of the outreach capacity. And the city uses something called GovDelivery, but you can get for $15 a month or something, you can use what are they? Constant Contact or MailChimp. Those are some of those very simple, very easy to use email list programs. So I'll leave it at that for now. I'd love to take any questions or if there's any more discussion.
So essentially what you're saying is not every social media is good for everybody. I know with the Snapchat, I know that affects the usage of the young folks, and being on some prevention coalitions, I hear about the youth using those, and they're not for very good reasons. So you're just targeting more by using different types of social media. I just lost my train of thought. I'll get back to it. No, I remember what I was going to say.
Excellent. Thank you, Margie. And then we have another question in the comments from Elizabeth. As far as neighborhood to neighborhood communications, what would you recommend?
Sierra, do you want to take a stab at that? Let me think about that for a second.
I heard it a little bit. My internet is being so choppy. If it was me, I would make sure that I'm active as an association, either president, vice president, secretary on Nextdoor, because a lot of activity is happening there. But social media wise, a Facebook page is going to be your best bet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll tell you that in Menlo Park, Zach Yenser is our president, and I'm not sure who started it, but they started just an email list, and they don't even use a service like Constant Contact. They're just sending it, to a list of email addresses. That's actually, I think that is worth doing, is building the email list, which is kind of, I guess, against the purpose of this thing. But I honestly, from what I've seen at Tucson Water, what I've seen in my own neighborhood, email is very effective. And yeah, if you had to pick one social media channel, absolutely Facebook is the way to go.
Okay. My question has to do with, we do utilize a newsletter, and we have a very well-developed email list. But when we go to trying to link neighborhood to neighborhood for activities and stuff, we run into the whole thing of there's a big turnover. There's a big turnover in officers and contacts and everything with that neighborhood. So I'm anxious to take a look maybe at Nextdoor or something, as a permanent way to link into associations on the west side. So thank you.
Excellent. And Margie, you have your hand up?
Yes. So I remember on Facebook, what we have is because I've looked at other Facebook pages, and there's some pretty rotten, nasty stuff people say sometimes. And so what we put on our Facebook page is that if that kind of starts going on, people posting stuff like that, that we have the right to remove what's ever on there. We'll remove what you have to say, and if you continue on, we'll just remove you from the page. And then James just reminded me about email addresses. A lot of folks, excuse me, when they have events, they'll get their email addresses and keep those as contacts. So I've gone to a couple of events on the west side, and they have my email. So when something comes up, they invite me because they have my email address. So that's another way to build up your contact list that way. And then another thing about Facebook, I mentioned earlier about I went into that kicking and screaming, and that's because when they first started to approach the neighborhoods on about Nextdoor, the young lady that gave a presentation to us, she started off her presentation at our meeting by saying, this is for people that don't want to attend neighborhood meetings. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's just the opposite. We need for people to attend our meetings. And so that's why I went for a long time not getting on there. And the other thing also, a lot of folks complained to me about a lot of nice things not being said on there either. People just being kind of rotten. So I think maybe it's gotten a little bit better, but I have to admit it is another way of connecting to your neighbors using that. But there's got to be a better way of letting those folks know that, because like Sierra said, when the city posts something on there, it doesn't mean that the city folks knows what's going on, and then a lot of neighbors don't seem to understand that.
Right. And I can say there's a little bit more flexibility for non-governmental groups on social media, because oftentimes we're not allowed to delete things, because it's a public record, and also people, it's a little bit harder to, ban quote unquote people, since they have a right to access their information. So it's a little bit easier for neighborhood groups to enforce, their standard of discourse.
Right.
Can I add just one thing?
Go ahead.
This is a good thing to know if you're a neighborhood person who's trying to get services, trying to get the city's attention. Social media is a great way to get a city agency's attention. You know, because it's so transparent and out there in the public, I can guarantee that things that are brought up on social media get resolved more quickly than they do, you know, on a phone call, or an email.
That's funny.
Just because you have the whole world seeing what they're complaining about.
Yeah. And what I found that I actually really like about it, like Sierra, you showed how you're responding to all those comments. That is super time consuming, and that's really you know what we should be doing. And we try to do that at Water. We're a little short staffed right now, but what's really fun about it is that 9 times out of 10, something that's like starts as a really negative interaction can become a positive. You know, somebody has some kind of issue, you work it out, and there's this back and forth, and it's very rewarding, and it's fun to be able to do that and show as a city agency, you know, what we do in the public and have other people see that. So.
And Snook, you have your hand up?
So thank you. I just wanted to I think I'm representing a the smallest group out of everybody who's in this call today, because we are just a neighborhood watch within a neighborhood association. So I've had a lot of success with our ways of communicating, because I'm dealing with just over 70 active participants, and I am willing to go door to door. I have a text message blast that if I need that I send out. I have some folks in the neighborhood who do absolutely no electronic communications, and I go to them to talk to them. We have, and I wanted to talk about Facebook for a moment and just let you know that because we're a neighborhood watch group, there are some sensitive issues that are discussed and brought up. And so what I did was I created a group, not a page. So you have an option to do a page and you have an option to do a group. And when you have a group, you have the option of having questions that your members have to answer in order to be admitted into the group. So I have the question on there is, what is your address? Because if your address is not within our neighborhood watch, I don't need you in our group looking at our business type stuff. And I have just, you know, ignored those requests to join in. And you can search for our group on Facebook, but you can't get in it and you can't see what's going on in there. And so we've had a lot of help, a lot of, you know, quick responses with like lost pets. Have you seen this animal? Does anybody recognize this animal? That sort of thing, because it's just our watch stuff. As far as individual issues, I tend to take those phone calls, take those individual contacts, since I'm the lead in the neighborhood, and it is a lot of responsibility. But I volunteered to do it. And then just by showing that example, there are other people who like have kind of joined on, like, oh, you know, you need help passing out a flyer, I'll do that. Or, oh, you need help, you know, I needed to mail something the other day, and oh, I'll print it out for you and bring it to you, because my printer was broken at the time. So just little things like that. It's very helpful on a small scale. And as far as meeting with the larger neighborhood association, I'm the point person that goes to those meetings, comes to this meeting, goes to the TPD meetings, and then I gather all that information and bring it to our neighborhood watch meeting, which we have every month. So if you have somebody in the group that's able to do that, or volunteers to do that, it's very helpful. And I do want to make a comment to Matt and to Ernesto about these meetings. Were posted on Twitter, and I didn't know about it. I was informed that these meetings had, because I don't use Twitter, and I'm very active in doing this sort of stuff. So it's like, oh my goodness, I had missed the first two. And I immediately signed up as soon as I found out and I found out from the larger association meeting. So even somebody as active as I am and familiar with social media doesn't use all the tools. And I missed information. So my advice to everybody is if you can utilize as much information, many of the tools that are out there to reach the most people where they're at. So some people, I have to go to their house. Some people I can just text. Some people I have to Facebook. I don't have their phone number, that sort of thing. But like, I'm not going to join Twitter just to see the city's news. You know what I mean? So I have to figure out a different way to do that. And, but I'm glad I found these meetings and signed up. And then, so that's just my advice. And I'm just wondering, like, if in the larger neighborhood associations, if there's smaller groups like blocks or whatever, you may have more success by like tapering it down to like block leads to like feed information to the neighborhood association if needed.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. All right. And then Steve has his hand up.
Thanks, Matt. I'm a little overwhelmed with choices here. And I wondered, I never used, but I've heard a lot about WhatsApp. And it might be good for what Nicole was just talking about, a small block group. I don't know how it works exactly, but overall, I see some of these things as two-way communication, and some of them are basically one-way, like newsletters. I don't know what would be the best thing for our neighborhood. I'm here to look at that right now. And James said just an email list is very good, and that's what we rely on right now. But when we had because of COVID, we had actually even before COVID, we have a full email list and we reach everybody, 440 households, and we get about 30 to 40 people, 10% who actually come to the meetings. And we had a Zoom meeting and we had 23 people on our last meeting. So some people just aren't interested. And that's another thing that I noticed. So I think somehow people talking to each other directly by phone or waving at each other is the best way for me. I'm still really old school on this. I have a lot of people I see in this. I had a question for I think it was Tom at Tucson House. I'm interested in social issues, and I've talked to James before about water harvesting things, and we kind of lost track during COVID. I was waiting for an email response, and I had wanted to hear how, I don't know how to get a hold of Ernesto about next month. There's a couple of things he announced, and I don't know where to look for those. And I've talked to you about this, Matt. I sent the email. So you said the only way is if I asked, take the name of the person, send it to you, and you can send me their email or something. So it's just perplexing to me that I don't see a real enhancement of overall communication going on in the world, but we have an awful lot more platforms. So I don't know, maybe I'm the curmudgeon here. But
Well, even in I suppose when there was before, back before the written word, I suppose it's true up till now. You can say whatever you like, but it's up to the other person to hear it. So that presents itself here with multiple platforms.
I think that meeting size of around, once you go above 10 or 12, people don't talk to each other. You can leave everybody's mic open less than 10, and have a conversation, which is what I prefer. I'm old fashioned. But that's kind of what I have to say. Again, I'll say, how do I get a hold of somebody I want to talk to? Ernesto, let me know how to, your January 7th and 21st meeting, you announced something and I don't know where to look for it or how to find it or how to find you. So that's where it stands right now.
Can you get into the chat room?
I don't know how things work here.
Okay.
So that's another thing. I get lost trying to figure out how to use it and I forget what I was going to say. So I'll just
join the club, Steve. Join the club.
So I'm going to click my microphone off and say thank you. I'll probably send you an email soon, Matt.
Sounds good.
If Ernesto has an email, I'll ask you for his.
That'll work.
All right, thanks.
It certainly does. All right, and then Mike from Tucson House is next, and that we're hoping to call us at about an hour. So if you have a quick question, please go ahead. You're cannot hear you.
Oh, the switch. Okay. Sorry. I'm trying not to interrupt others. Steve, I think it was me you may have been trying to get a hold of. I'm at Tucson House and here in the Barrio Blue Moon Neighborhood Association. So Ernesto, if you can get a hold of Ernesto, he can get us connected. Just real quick, I'm from the world of CB radio. So I'm not opposed to using that technology as far as neighborhood communication goes and two-way radios. And that those thoughts came up because someone mentioned about WhatsApp. Again, more willing to speak to someone about WhatsApp. It's got its benefits, great benefits, but it could be overwhelming. And just real quick, I think we have people on from Tucson Water and from the Parks and Recreation. There are some things that I just want to say that need more detail. Now, the quick example I have is the announcement from Pima County about the hospitals being at capacity. There was no press release. There was no detailed information on the web. It was just they used social media, and there was a misunderstanding about what they meant by hospitals are at capacity. So I just want to say that a lot of the social media tools you can use as the headlines, but you may need other tools like blogs or whatever for details.
Sounds
Definitely
May I
agree.
Mike just said something that got my brain going. Mike, thank you. I just real quick just wanted to say, those of you who are getting overwhelmed with having to keep up with your responses and your communications, if you focus what your communication tool is going to be used for, that can really, really taper down the time that you are on that tool. So announcements, I do once a month, that type of thing. Alerts as they happen, that only affect our neighborhood.
Great. No, that's a very good point. All right, and then Margie, if you want to really quick bring us home, if you have a quick question.
Yeah, I got just a couple of statements really quickly. Actually, I echo what Nicole said because I'm in the same position. We are in the same position down here where I'm at off of 12th and Valencia. Folks not have internet, and thank you, city, for the Wi-Fi that's coming in. And so that's going to be a big benefit, getting that Wi-Fi into folks. And also, I don't know if Mike remembers, but he and I were both block leaders for Safe Streets. So I think we found out at that time we were so used to person, face-to-face interaction outreach. And what's happened with COVID, that's forcing us to approach different things in a different way. So whatever way you can do it, whether it's hard copy, internet, phone call. I know even before this, we had a phone tree for the folks that don't have internet, or like Nicole said, you just go up to the house and drop them off something. So it's just a matter of keep working at it. It just takes a while and determination.
Thank you, Margie. And then Steve, one last point.
how would I go about getting a message to city council? How would I get into their meeting? Because it's on Zoom now. I can't go down there. And, you know, when I was with another group, we went down and made presentations and the whole city council was there and the mayor. So what happens now? How do I get involved and make an announcement and talk to the city council and mayor?
So the meetings are streamed live on YouTube. The link is on it should be on the homepage. It should be in the upper right-hand corner. And then because of COVID-19, there's no more general call to the audience. If there's a specific item that has a hearing on it, they take testimony. But other than that, it's primarily email, which gets sent to all of our offices. So for that, I'd recommend emailing the city clerk's office. So that'd be cityclerk@tucsonaz.gov is the city clerk's email address. And they get it to us every day. We get communication every day from folks who send in comments and feedback. All
Okay.
right. Well, thank you so much for our presenters, James and Sierra. Thank you for taking the time out of your, I know, busy day. And this is a little bit extra than what is normally required. So we do very much appreciate it. And thank you everybody for joining us. Our next meeting is going to be on the topic of Instagram, which is going to be in the new year, Thursday, January 7th, same time. We'll be sending out, or I'll be sending out invitations once we have that set up in Zoom. So if you clearly had to register, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So I have your email address, so you'll get the invitation to the next set of meetings. So thank you everybody for joining us, and I cannot wait to say this, but see everyone in the year 2021. So
oh my Lord.
So
Yeah.
thanks everyone.
Thank you, James and Sierra and Matt and
Thank you.
Ernesto for helping
Thank you
put this
all.
together. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And stay safe.
Thank you for
Keep
joining us.
washing